What is going on, guys? My name is Landon. Today I am bringing you guys yet again another video, and first off, before we even get into today's video, I want to apologize for the fact that I have uploaded this video already and I deleted it before anyone could see it. I uploaded it because I wanted it to be the first one up there, and I didn't want that to happen because I'm so tired of myself wanting to upload a video the fastest, and it's just not important. There's no reason for me to upload a video before someone else. It's just there's no point into it, so I apologize. And so for today, what we'll be talking about is Cloud9's new roster. Now, you might have already heard this, you might have seen the announcement on Twitter, which I will link the article that Cloud9 had released yesterday in their announcement and below in the description. So if you guys want to click on that, read along with me. I will also be reading it here in just a little bit. But the new roster of Cloud9, their old roster being Silly, Burns-Off, Merc, and Mochila is gone, and the new roster that is now consisting of Accuracy, Sinful, Killa, and Kalifa. Now, this automatically surprised the entire Call of Duty scene for a number of different reasons, for the fact that Cloud9 picking up a new roster, who could it be, and the fact that they have picked up these four specific players is a major surprise to a lot of people. I think, honestly, in my opinion, I've been thinking since that, because their old roster just basically disbanded. They were so close in competing for the online qualifiers, got very close. They ended up facing Dream Team, who ended up winning and obviously did qualify, for Stage 1. And it was just a major, I guess you say, blow to those players over on Cloud9. Their old roster, like I said, being... those guys just felt very, very defeated. And obviously, two players ended up leaving. It was Burns-Off and Merc, who kind of left the roster, ended up forming a team, alongside of players like Study and alongside players, like Apathy as well over on Team Liquid. That's the current roster for TL right now as well. So that left, I believe in the article, it also kind of later goes on to say that it was both Silly and Mochila who were left by themselves, and I don't think, and I've heard before, Silly's mentioned to me that he really didn't want to play with Mochila too much, so I think that was the reason. I think it was an issue with the fact that Silly wanted to find three, and Mochila wanted to find three. I just don't think these guys really wanted to play together, so I don't think it was a team of two looking for two. I think it was two separate players looking for three to kind of combat the other. So I'm not really sure exactly how that would have worked out in the end if they would have found three other players. But that's just kind of how it goes. So, like I said earlier, everyone in the Call of Duty scene right now is completely running off this roster, which to me, I'm not a fan of, because we haven't seen these guys play. They haven't played online too much at all. They haven't played on LAN at all yet. And I don't know how you can form an opinion about a team who hasn't played yet on LAN before and automatically have an opinion. Now, there's a number of different things that we can do for the fact with these online teams who are competing in the Call of Duty World League, because we watch them consistently. They play at least 2 times a week, and we get to see them in their online scrims and so on and so forth. This team is new. This is a new roster. Killa has been playing with these guys on stream a lot, and Killa's like the only guy that I think streams out of these guys, so that's the only reason why I'm mentioning his name and specifics. But this is really the only guy who's been streaming. This is the only way to watch their matches, has been through an external source. It's not been through the Call of Duty World League. It's not been through online matches. These guys haven't really been playing for too long. So I'm not a fan of people who are already generalizing an opinion on players who haven't really been as talented in the past couple of years, Killa in specifics, and writing off guys who just aren't as well known, being, Accuracy, being Kalifa, and being Sinful toward the last couple of years as well. But one thing that I want to point out as well is how hungry that Cloud9 really is. I mean, the fact that they pick up a roster of guys who aren't really that well known, picking up Killa, who in the past has been very extreme on Twitter. I mean, everyone kind of knows that. But these big organizations, they want players, and entering into a new scene who is foreign to them, they want to grab very well known players. They obviously want to grab the most talented guys, and if they can't find the most talented guys, they want to grab the guys who are very, well-mannered, very professional as far as, online presence goes, not as far as, like, professionalism in Call of Duty, because all these guys are professionals, obviously. We're just going as far as their online kind of profile goes. How do they act amongst fans? How do they act amongst social media? Will they be a good representation of our brand? And in the past, in some instances, Killa is the exact opposite of what Cloud9 really wants. Now, I'll talk about his skill. I'll talk about how he's kind of transitioned a little bit over the past, couple of months, and kind of see it's like the new Killa, I guess you could say, as of late. But like I said, the new roster being Accuracy, Sinful, Killa, and Kalifa. I'm going to be going over their roster here today for you guys, as I've kind of given a little bit of a background on C9 and how hungry they really want to be, and the fact that of picking up an unknown roster, like I mentioned, they really want those more well-known players, and the fact that they've kind of picked up this roster is very interesting. It's very telling, and it's just an all-around wow factor whenever I end up reading that tweet and seeing their overall announcement, because that absolutely surprised me a ton. So we'll be going over the new roster, what this means, and what the new roster has to accomplish if they want to be in the Call of Duty World League, which is obviously their main and their #1 goal right now. So before we hop into the roster, before we give a little bit of a background on these players and in a little bit of their past and their future, how they're looking right now, is the fact that the reason why Cloud9 is forming, the reason why they want a roster right now, for a number of different reasons, is obviously because of UMG South Carolina, which is getting ready to come up, I believe, on February 12th through the 14th. I might have those dates wrong, but if so, someone can kind of correct me in the comments or something like that. Either way, UMG South Carolina coming up. It's the first opportunity for players, or for teams, excuse me, in the Challenger Division to get those points going. Now, you might be curious, you might be wondering why do they want these Challenge Division points? What does that exactly mean? So, as far as these stages go, as far as Stage 1 heading into Stage 2, the bottom 4 teams from the Call of Duty World League, and I'm saying this from the NA side of things, it might be different for the ANZ, it also might be a little bit different for EU, but as far as the NA goes, which is obviously what we're talking about today, the bottom 4 teams from Stage 1, and the top 8 are already guaranteed spots in Stage 2, the bottom 4 teams are automatically relegated, meaning that they will compete in a relegation tournament to decide their fate, whether they compete in Stage 1 or Stage 2 or not, against the top 4 teams from the Challenge Division. And how those 4 teams get to the top is obviously through Challenger Division points, which they can win, I believe, in a number of different ways. I know specifically as far as lands go, and obviously UMG South Carolina being known as the Challenge Division is obviously a major opportunity to get a lot of those points. To already set off your roster into a good start, for the upcoming stage, or the upcoming season. They call it stages, but it's also kind of considered like a season as well. So that's why Cloud9 has formed this roster. That's why Cloud9 is wanting to get, and is why they're hungry just in general. Team Liquid is by far, to me, the best looking team right now that is not actually in the Call of Duty World League. They've been grinding. They've been beating teams like Rise. They've been beating teams like CLG online as well. So they're looking to be a top contender, coming into that one as well. And obviously with 2 of the previous players over on Cloud9, since those guys have kind of went on to a different roster, Cloud9 wants a little bit of, not really revenge, but they also want to kind of get to that point where they were and how good they were looking already with their previous roster and how their new team can kind of perform. So what we're going to be doing now is obviously going over their new team. For those who may not know, if you're interested in this, feel free to kind of stay along, or if you've already learned all your information, I wouldn't recommend leaving the video now, because I want to talk about these guys, why they're good, and the reason why I think they could easily be one of the top teams from the Challenger Division as far as regular points go, and how I think they could easily do well if they end up qualifying for Stage 2. So Accuracy is actually the captain for this team, like I said, alongside of Killa, Kalifa, and Sinful. Accuracy had a number of different issues throughout Advanced Warfare. Started off over on Aware Gaming, I believe, is where he was most well known, how I kind of started off knowing and realizing his name. And whenever they did qualify for Season 2, it was a big deal, because that was the time where TCM, the EU organization, very well known even today as well, kind of came over with their new roster. It was the first time we saw a major step from the EU entering into the MLG Pro League for Season 2, and that's whenever the Aware organization did not let their team or their roster know that this was happening. So the Aware roster had no idea that their spot was being sold, and that they wouldn't actually have a spot in Season 2. And in the end, it was TCM who was announcing it, and Aware finding out, I believe, on MLG.TV. It was like, what was it, the esports recap or show or something with like Ben and Matt, where they kind of were talking and mentioning it. So that was really unfortunate, and obviously Accuracy was one of those guys to kind of get screwed over, but him getting kind of screwed over wouldn't end there. I believe for MLG World Finals, whenever he was competing for Orbit, a couple of weeks before the trade deadline, I remember like a couple of days before the trade deadline, he'd been practicing with Orbit, and they ended up releasing him and picking up someone else, meaning that he could not compete at MLG World Finals. I'm pretty sure it was that event. It might be a different one. I just know that he was screwed over by Orbit, who he would later obviously compete for Black Ops 3, and he would compete for at the LAN qualifiers. In which I believe he played with Lawless, Pac-Man, and Wheats. Obviously, they did not end up qualifying, and when that was the result of Pac-Man and Wheats leaving and going over to Question Mark alongside of Proofy, who previously was on LG, got dropped from them, and I believe Colchan, who was previously on Happy Hour, I think like alongside Burnsoff, and like Tipsy, and I think Anticity. I think that was the roster. So that was kind of interesting there. But either way, he's had a hard road. Obviously, Orbit kind of ended up folding, in which he was left to basically not really have a roster. He was kind of in a hard point in his career for right now. Was really close to competing in the Call of Duty World League and had that kind of rug pulled out from underneath him. And in my opinion, throughout Advanced Warfare, he was one of the most underrated Slayers that we had in the game. And I say Slayers, I mean as a support Slayer, meaning the fact that he is in some ways similar to me like Remy. I think Remy is a more support-minded player. Accuracy is the guy who could easily, as far as Black Ops 3 goes, have 2 minutes in the hill and also have like the most frags on his team or most kills on his team as well, which is very impressive. You know, you're kind of doing everything around the map. Kind of like, I would say similar to a player like Enable, who at times can get in the hard point. Most of the time he's going to be in the hard point, but he has no issue slaying and also doing kind of of juggling those two at the same time, which is, I think, is what accuracy kind of specializes in. And to me, like I said, throughout Advanced Warfare was one of the most underrated players, very, very talented, and I think obviously will be a really good captain for the C9 roster as well. The next player I'm going to talk about is actually going to be Sinful, who I probably know the least amount of information on. The main thing that I know about him was obviously being on Strictly Business throughout the beginning of Advanced Warfare, had a couple struggles, didn't really compete for a little bit of time, and then later found himself at the beginning of Black Ops 3 over on Kinetic Empire. He played alongside of players like Twiz, which is basically his duo throughout all of Call of Duty, and also Royalty, and along with someone else, so I can't actually remember at the time. But either way, Kinetic Empire was one of the rosters who was not chosen to actually compete at the Call of Duty World League LAN qualifiers for Stage 1. I think like Orbit and also 3ZUP, funny enough, which the roster Kalifa was on, which we'll get to him in just a second. Those teams were chosen over them. But either way, Kinetic Empire would have a opportunity to compete in the online qualifiers, where they would obviously not be able to qualify, and that would kind of fail there from them off the bat. But either way, Sinful is a pretty aggressive player, very well known for teams like Justice. I believe he was on Justice for a little bit of time as well. I don't know too much about him, but he's very talented. I believe he's played with Killa in the past, and seems to be just a really good player overall. And I know that sounds very generic. I just don't know too much about him. But as far as what I've heard from him, from what I've seen from him, very briefly, he seems to be pretty consistent, pretty good slayer. And is always someone that can easily turn up. It seems like he's either really good or he's just pretty consistent, which is obviously what you want out of a player. Doesn't really have a terrible game, really, at all. Next player we have, and probably the most interesting player for me, besides Killa, is obviously going to be Mr. Kalifa. Kalifa played on 3ZUP for a very long time. 3ZUP Enterprises throughout Advanced Warfare was probably the main backbone of that 3ZUP team. They had constant changes throughout the year, but he was always the guy to remain consistent on that roster and performed very well. Every time that I watched 3ZUP, every time that I casted over 3ZUP, a couple times on LAN, and funny enough, at UMG DC, he was always the guy to be leading in kills. He was the guy to be leading in kills as far as Search and Destroy goes. He was very talented, and at the beginning of Advanced Warfare, he was one of the many players to be labeled as an online warrior. The fact that he was only good online, he would not do well on LAN, and he kind of disproved everyone at a couple of LANs, but was one of the only players who was not elevated from that. He was kind of known as an online player. He did well on LAN, and everyone was like, okay, he's good, great, you know what I mean? But there were other players alongside of him, and I like to compare him to like players like Hook and Temp, who got those opportunities to play on like Denial, who got those opportunities to play on FaZe, so on and so forth. They would rise through the ranks and become some of the top players in the entire game. Kalifa was probably not as good as them, but still in a similar path to what they were doing, but just never got that next opportunity to play for a top organization to show his actual skill overall. He's had a number of different opportunities, but always has remained on 3ZUP and is very, very loyal when it came to that organization. He's very, I would say, unknown, but he's very talented for what we've seen. I'm not sure as far as like his chemistry, if he's kind of like a very outspoken player, or if he's kind of remained in like a passive way, or is he kind of shy. I'm not really sure how he performs overall. I don't think he's really like an end-game leader type of player. I think he's someone there who's plan to get kills. He calls out, similar to a player previously like Scump, who was there just to get kills. You sit there, you get kills, and you hop in the hill every once in a while as well. But I'm not really sure how Kalifa is going to perform. I think he's honestly a very talented player, but I think honestly Kalifa will be that player to kind of be in the top echelon when it comes to their games, whenever they play. He's always going to be the guy at the ranks and at the very top of the ranks, I guess you could say, as far as slang goes, just in general. And the final player that I'm going to talk about, obviously, is the remaining player out of the four, is going to be Mr. Killa, Mr. Adam Sloss, who has been written off a number of different times throughout his career. Throughout, like, if Ghost and Advanced Warfare really had a rough road for him, especially coming from Black Ops 2, where he had so much success, being a Call of Duty World Champion of Black Ops 2 alongside of that Impact team. Just really was a dominant player, and honestly, coming into my, watching of esports, Killa was like the guy that I was like, oh my gosh, Killa is a Don, he's a fantastic guy, really scary to kind of play against as well, and just seemed to be that hype guy who did not care what you thought, he was going to dominate you, and you had to suffer through it. That was just kind of the issue. And a major reason why I think that this is a big pickup for Cloud9, and I say big for a number of different reasons, is the fact that Cloud9 wants players, and in general, whenever these bigger organizations are joining, they want to have players who are either really talented, or they want to have players who are very, very well known and very professional. Now, I say the word professional not as in, because all these guys are called to be professionals, they're professional players, but professional in the way that they handle themselves on social media, how they handle themselves, in person. They want players to represent the brand in a positive way, and in the past, Killa has not really been able to do that in a positive manner. He's been known for a number of different things, but he's really improved. I think, honestly, kind of grown up over these past couple of years. And to me, the past couple of years as well, has kind of grown up in the sense that he realizes that this is an opportunity. He does not really want to do anything else. He wants to play, and this is probably a massive opportunity for him, probably one of the biggest opportunities that he's had in a very, very, very long time. The dude Killa has been playing for a crazy amount of time. I mean, it's absolutely insane how much he's been playing this game, and he's very underrated when it comes to Black Ops 3. There was a number of different rumors that he was going to go and play for Kinetic Empire. There was different rumors that he was going to play for a number of different teams, and it just really didn't happen for him. I mean, it was rumored that he was going to play for a number of different teams, but just did not end up equaling out. And I'm really happy for Killa, to be honest. I think automatically everyone says, oh my gosh, Killa joining this roster, automatic, like this is going to suck. Why do they have Killa? He's not going to be very good. And honestly, throughout Advanced Warfare, he did not play very well at all. Played for like Optic Nation for a long time, was definitely probably the worst player on that team. Had some good opportunities here and there, but just did not perform very well at all. Actually, I wouldn't say he's the worst player on Optic Nation. He was pretty good for a short time, but just did not have that same emotion. I don't really know how to say it exactly, but him and Miracles just did not have that same blend that they've had in the past. And as far as Black Ops 3 goes for Killa, he played on, I believe, Nation alongside of Imbo's Study and also Merc, where he was probably the worst player on that team. Imbo's was doing better than him, and he was probably the objective-minded guy behind that. And it was mostly Merc and especially Study to kind of do the slaying, and Killa was kind of the guy to kind of, slowly kind of come along, as they had many issues with trying to get him online, trying to just play in general, and Killa was kind of that guy lagging along who just did not really want to play that much, was not, at least didn't seem to be very motivated at certain times. There was a number of different opportunities where he had time to play, where they were waiting for him to get on, and he just would not be able to come on and scrim because he was just kind of being lazy, to be honest with you. And I think this is a massive opportunity for Killa to be on this roster, and in some ways lead these guys, because they're going to be looking at him as an example, whether you believe it or not. Players like Kalifa, players like Sinful and Accuracy, who have played a lot and have played on LAN plenty of times, but they always look at that seasoned veteran to kind of take, kind of that leadership role from. And I think like players like Study have shown, playing for Justice for a little bit of time, Spacely as well, kind of leading guys, and even Dito coming through at Advanced Warfare, who've had different opportunities to play with not just underaged players, but kind of lesser known players who don't have as much knowledge of the game, or don't have as much hours played in the game, or just veterans in general who have kind of taught these younger players overall how to play, and in a way this is Killa's opportunity to do so. Spacely succeeded with Justice. Study had a couple different opportunities with Justice, didn't really work out for him too much. Also played with like XGN a little bit as well, and Dito, who kind of led Isolation Empire to having a lot of success, throughout Advanced Warfare overall, kind of like placing and kind of being like a middle of the pack team, probably like a top 6 team throughout Advanced Warfare toward the latter parts of the game. So this is Killa's opportunity. This is Killa's chance with a major organization. They're putting a lot of trust in this team, and it just goes to show how motivated that Cloud9 wants to be when it comes to Black Ops, when it comes to Call of Duty in general. They want to be involved, and then picking up a roster who's fairly unknown, which kind of goes against the entire reason why a lot of these organizations were getting involved in the first place. Who wanted known players. They wanted very good, talented, but well-known players as well. They kind of went against the grain and went with these guys, just in general. But I think these guys are going to be pretty good. Like I said, it's going to come down. They have a lot of pressure on their shoulders. I'm not sure how players like, Killa, Kalifa, and Sinful are going to kind of react to this. This is Kalifa's big and probably his biggest opportunity that he's had in his entire career. This is Killa trying to get back to where he's been in the past, and Accuracy, who's going to kind of lead all these guys to a lot of success, and being, like I said, that support slayer, captain of the team who handles himself very well. How are these guys going to counteract? How are these guys going to act just in general? I'm not really sure. But I know Killa's been streaming their matches a little bit, but we've not really got to be able to see a major taste, but I'm definitely going to be watching them a lot more often, and hopefully get to spectate them over at UMG, South Carolina. So guys, that has been my opinion. That's been the new pickup for Cloud9. I apologize for the long talk, but I wanted to provide as much information as possible, and like I said, I do apologize for trying to upload that video earlier. It would just not have been worth anyone's time to watch it. So if you guys did enjoy the video overall, make sure to leave a like. If you guys just learned something new, feel free to do that as well. For future content, make sure to subscribe for something like this, or just new content in general as far as the Call of Duty esports scene goes. If you guys have an opinion on Cloud9, their new roster, don't write them off. I honestly don't want anyone to try to write them off in the comments, but just give your opinion on how you think the team will perform with a little bit of, I guess, to like proof in the background, I guess you could say. So that has been it for the new Cloud9 roster. Like I said, thank you guys so much for watching this video once again. Make sure to subscribe and like, and do all that fun stuff. And like I said, check out that description for that article there from Cloud9 as well. So guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Once again, I will see you all in the next one. Have a fantastic day, and until next time, peace out.